Hi guys, Visual Films here.
Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm gonna explain an American superhero, crime, and drama movie called Hancock. Starring Will Smith. The film tells the story of a man named John Hancock. He is an alcoholic who possesses superpowers, including flight, invulnerability, and superhuman strength. But unlike superheroes in general, he is not a superhero loved by the people of Los Angeles. Almost everyone hates him, both good and bad people. He also becomes enraged when referred to as an asshole by the locals. At the beginning of the movie, Hancock falls asleep on a public bench by the side of the road. Not long after, there is a boy who suddenly wakes him up. The boy hopes that he can wake up soon and stops the criminals who are in action, which is reported on the television. Knowing this, he immediately reacts by capturing the mafia group who is running away in a car. These mafia members have weapons, but that is not a problem for him who has superpowers. However, he is scolded by the police and local residents for his reckless nature. When he tackles a problem, he makes an even worse mess. In overcoming these three criminals, Hancock in his heroic action makes a big loss because he also destroys police cars and public facilities. In other words, the losses he incurred are greater than the losses incurred by the criminals. Meanwhile, there is a man named Ray. He works as a public relations specialist in a private company. He offers a business concept to the board of directors, but sadly the concept is not approved by them. On his way home, he gets stuck in traffic right on the train tracks, where a train is about to pass. Frantically, he cannot go anywhere because the car in front and behind him cannot move either. Then he decides to get out of the car, but unfortunately his clothes get stuck in it. Just at the right time, Hancock appears and irrationally derails the car to save Ray. As a result, Ray's car crashes into someone else's car in an overturned condition, then he instead crashes himself into the train to stop it, making the environment around there become chaotic. As usual, the citizens immediately criticize him, except for Ray, who is very thankful to him for saving him just now. With his flying ability, Ray is escorted by Hancock to his house. Arriving there, Ray is greeted by his wife, Mary, and also his son, Aaron. From now, it can be seen that Mary is one of the people who does not like Hancock as a superhero. Even she has refused him to eat together at her house. On the other hand, Aaron is a fan of him. From all the Los Angeles residents, Ray is the only one who believes that Hancock has a good side in him. That way, he can turn into a superhero that people love by improving his public image. To make it happen, Ray encourages him to admit all the mistakes he has made so far, such as destroying public facilities to other things that harm the citizens in his actions. Ray also tells him to grant the wishes of the residents all this time, namely the residents want him to be imprisoned for all the losses he has made, until Los Angeles needs him properly. At first, he is reluctant, but in the end he agrees with Ray. When he arrives at the prison, he meets another inmate. However, they stare at him in disgust and immediately block his way when he wants to pass. Turns out, most of them are the people who went to jail because of Hancock, so they seem to be really annoyed with him. After that, he politely asks them not to get in his way, but they still don't heed his words. Because he is so upset, he ends up assaulting the two of them. Thus, the other inmates avoid him out of fear and quickly leave him alone. Later, Hancock is visited by Ray, who knows about the mess that he caused earlier, encouraging him to be patient. He is also visited by Mary and Aaron, who bring him homemade spaghetti. Since Hancock was in prison, Los Angeles's crime rate rises. The climax is when there is a bank robbery, where the criminals carry a lot of weapons and explosives. Therefore, Hancock is eventually released to help the police. He also gets his superhero costume for the first time after being taught manners by Ray. He then foils the robbery orchestrated by Red Parker, with Hancock slicing off his hand to prevent him from activating a detonation switch. Because of this, he is praised as a superhero for the first time by the locals. Afterwards, Hancock has dinner with Ray and Mary. He asks them how they come to meet each other. In essence, Mary turns out to be Ray's second wife, while Aaron is the son of his first wife who had died in childbirth. When it is Hancock's turn to tell his story, it is revealed that he is amnesiac and an immortal. That moment when he woke up in Miami hospital, he had no idea who he really was. The only thing he knew was that there was a chewing gum and 2 movie tickets in his pocket, but he couldn't remember anything about it. Strangely enough, it happened 80 years ago. In the meantime, Mary looks at him with pity. It seems that she is familiar with his story, causing her to cry. After they finish dinner, a drunk Ray is carried by Hancock to his house. Before Hancock wants to go home, he meets with Mary in the kitchen. He then kisses her, only for her to toss him outside, destroying the walls of her house. It turns out that she has superpowers like him too, looks like they are the same species. Hancock is very surprised not to think that Mary has the same superpowers as him. The next morning, Ray, who has woken up from his sleep, is very surprised to see that his house was so messy. Mary then explains to him that it was Hancock's doing because he sneezed last night, causing the wall to shatter. After a while, Hancock comes to Mary's house again. He then does some tests on Mary because he is still curious about what happened last night. When he presses the fork against her shoulder, the fork bends instead. And also, when he hits her head with a rolling pin, Mary feels fine about it. Because of it, he has many questions for her and tells her to come to his residence. Arriving there, she talks with Hancock in private. She claims that actually she is his little sister and they have lived for 3,000 years. She also explains that they are the last descendants of their species. On the other hand, Hancock disbelieves her about the last claim, thinking that the whole thing was bullshit. Furthermore, he immediately leaves and flies away to inform Ray about her superpower. Mary, who does not want Ray to know about it, chases after him. The two of them incite a violent battle across the city, until Ray quietly witnesses the fight from a building. After the fight, he returns home. At the same time, Hancock and Mary also arrives there. At that time, Ray is very surprised why Mary can fly and has superpowers. Mary then explains the truth. She admits that Hancock is actually her husband from the past, but that she chose to quietly leave him once he had lost his memories about them. Knowing this fact, Hancock feels sad and disappointed with Mary, as well as Ray, who is also annoyed by her statement. One night, Hancock stops a liquor store robbery. Unfortunately, the criminals are able to shoot him in the body, causing him to be hospitalized. After a while, Mary approaches him and continues her explanation that their species has a weakness, that is, if they are close or have feelings for each other, then the superpowers possessed by them will slowly disappear for a moment, becoming mortals. She also tells him that the last time they were together was 80 years before. At that moment, Hancock was attacked right in his head by the criminals to save Mary. Consequently, he had amnesia and only had one chewing gum and 2 movie tickets in his pocket. Meanwhile, Parker, whose hand has been sliced off earlier, manages to escape from the prison with several other criminals. He decides to attack Hancock in the hospital for revenge. Unluckily, Mary is caught in the crossfire when she tries to protect Hancock, causing her to be injured. After that, an angry Hancock immediately recovers and immediately kills the criminals while the doctors are trying to save Mary's life. But in the process, Hancock gets shot in his body again by Parker. Just in the right time, he is saved by Ray, who cuts off Parker's other hand with a fire axe before killing him as well. Sometime after that, he finally realizes what to do next. He immediately throws himself out of the hospital, trying to increase his distance from Mary so that she can recover quickly. He eventually flies towards the moon. A month later, Ray and his family suddenly receive a call from Hancock, who is now in New York. He reveals that he has imprinted the moon's surface with Ray's all-heart marketing logo, which was previously rejected by his directors. The movie ends happily, even though Ray already knew all the facts about Hancock and Mary. In the end, they remain good friends and Mary remains Ray's wife. In a mid-credit scene, Hancock confronts a criminal holding a woman at gunpoint. The criminal demands Hancock to help him escape from the police while calling him an asshole in the process, which infuriates Hancock. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.